Yo, what's shaking, everybody? We're back. It's Geoff and Anwar. It's Orange Bloods Texas football discussion here on the Orange Bloods Texas football channel. Do us a solid, hit the like, maybe subscribe to the channel, comment in the comment section because we're bringing on a Friday one of your favorite things back to the table. We're playing buy or sell, except this week, instead of taking your buy or sell questions, Anwar and I are just going to pepper each other with our own buy or sell questions. They can be completely focused on Texas football and what's happened in training camp. They can be whatever they want to be. It's Friday. We want to have fun. And who knows, maybe the more wild and outside the box we get, the more shelf life this video has over the course of, I don't know, however long we want people to be watching our videos after we record them. Anwar, I wish we were, if this was radio, like I would have a producer play a song and we'd have like a bed of music underneath it. And then we would just go to town. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You know, it's a weekend is upon us as we record this on a Friday morning, but you know, we've got a scrimmage going on. But I mean, it's crazy to think that we are about 2 weeks away from the season opener versus Louisiana. I mean, we are right around the corner, 100,000 people in DKR. So, I mean, I'm getting more pumped up and ready for some real football.
It's a little surreal in that, you know, when we've talked to the players this week in our videos on Orange Bloods, I feel like in every video I've mentioned the number of days that are left, right? It's like 19 days, 18 days, and there's just this countdown. And we're inside of 2 weeks coming on the other side of this weekend. And it feels, I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like it doesn't feel real yet. And I wonder, is it the Monday press conference? What is it that will make this thing feel real? And even the players this week, when I've tried to ask them about the season opener, have been way more focused on getting better day by day and scrimmage on Saturday. And, you know, these little baby steps the coaches have them apparently so focused on kind of the next day that they haven't taken the mental trip. So I wonder what it's going to feel like really feel like football season. It's just going to be the first game. Is it going to take that?
I don't know. We're close, right? I mean, we're in that time frame where we're talking college football. NFL preseason is going along. High school football gets started next Friday. Catch, I dropped my kids off, and you remember this at the school or elementary school.
Football players were there.
The football players were there opening doors today. You know, it was like, dude, I guess they do it on Fridays.
Yes. So,
I mean, it's starting to feel like that way for me, man. It's really starting to feel that way.
That's a really polite thing that the Cedar Park's Leander School District does, to have the cheerleaders and the football players from the high school go open doors and welcome the elementary. For the record, shout out Leander ISD for that one. Whoever makes that happen, the elementary school kids really like it. It's a nice little touch.
It was actually going to be one of my things that I put in my column at probably towards the end. Yeah. How much, props to them to do that. Cedar Park High, kind of creates a little community where the little kids grow up wanting to be being wolves.
Exactly. All right, let's play some buy or sell. I know what my first buy or sell question is for you. Buy or sell number one, you believe that next Monday, the Monday before the opener. Okay. So what are we talking, like 8 days away or whatever?
Okay.
Buy or sell, you think Sarkisian names his starter by the Monday, no later than the Monday before the opener? Tough one. Because you had in the war room that, the mystery thing is not something that is completely lost on this coaching staff as a thing.
Yeah. So the setup before I answer it is like, there is a belief that, hey, why should Sarkisian tip his hand at any point until give Louisiana 2 weeks to prepare? The longer he drags this thing out, hell, they got to prepare for both. And they've got to spend practice time preparing for both quarterbacks. He tells them on that Monday, it's that you don't know. So I think, didn't catch, I don't think Charlie officially announced that Buechele was the starter until like before the game. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
I think it's, even though we may have known where it was headed, so I'm going to sell. I think he's going to play it for as long as he can. I think there's going to be a motivation to just say, hey, Louisiana, prepare for both. I'm not going to help you. And then you'll figure it out when the guys got out there. Now, does it mean we won't know? No, I think we'll have a good idea. But like I said, Charlie didn't even announce it. So I don't think Sarkisian's going to do it.
I think if I remember correctly, that Charlie, that either broke like the Thursday or Friday before the opener, or maybe the Longhorn Network or someone, everybody kind of knew the Buechele thing in that last week was coming. It gets announced. And then on that Saturday night, Charlie Strong in the pregame interview basically explains the decision and that Swoops had been ahead, but then Buechele kind of caught him in late in camp. And yeah, it was, I guess even Charlie was like, I'll get my tactical advantage on by not letting anybody know anything. All right. You got to buy or sell question.
I got to buy or sell for you. Catch, buy or sell, regardless of who the quarterback is in the season opener against Louisiana, that person will commit at least 2 turnovers. Buy or sell?
Ooh, sell.
Sell. Okay.
I'm bullish on the quarterbacks against Louisiana. Like, I think this offense, it doesn't have depth, but man, it's got some dudes. Like, Jordan Whittington is a dude, and I never call people dudes, so I don't know why I'm doing it now, but like, it feels like that's something. I think that's like a Tom Herman virus. I feel like he used to call guy dudes, and I pushed against it, and here I am now on a buy or sell question, calling guys dudes. Whatever, they're dudes. Texas has some dudes that can play. They've got Bijan Robinson's a real thing, and I don't think in practice in August, because partly they don't want him taking big hits. They're preserving him. They don't need to give him 30 touches on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I think that there's, you think about this week in the wide receivers, and Xavier Worthy hasn't been out there, and Joshua Moore has missed some practice. I really like the idea of Bijan Robinson, Keelan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, coupled with a really good tight end core, coupled with a wide receiving core that I think's got 3 really good players that can make plays, even if it's inconsistent beyond that, coupled with an offensive line that's not going to be, they'll be average at worst, I think. And I think this skill group behind an average offensive line will score some points. I think that Hudson Card, if I assume he's going to be the starter, he's done a pretty good job of even when he's not been good, he hasn't been a turnover machine. And neither is Casey, although Casey's probably had more turnovers in camp than Hudson has. I don't think either one of them have a turnover bug. I think they'll have one. Someone will throw a pick, but I don't think they'll have 2. If I'm wrong, that game gets scary all of a sudden. Really. We go into that game and you're not telling me anything about the running backs or anything about anybody else, but you're telling me that the quarterbacks start with 2 against a ranked team. That is problematic for me. Buy or sell, right back at you.
Okay.
The biggest single advantage that Texas has over Louisiana going into the opener is that Louisiana can't have really any idea of the right film to watch in preparation. They can watch Alabama film to see what Sark likes to do schematically in the last couple of years, but it doesn't have any of the players in it other than Keelan Robinson that would play in the game. And that, in a game of fine margins, is the biggest that Texas has going for it.
Sell.
Yeah.
I'll sell on that. And here's why. Their head coach is Billy Napier, who was at Alabama, assistant until he took this job at Louisiana. So that is a person who's familiar with everything Alabama related. how they run their practices, the things that they try to achieve in the meeting rooms, offensive, defensively, schematically, right? So I think he's so familiar with that nothing that they bring in from Alabama is going to throw him off. The other thing that I think is I would sell on that is they probably didn't know what to expect from Iowa State last year, but they sure opened a can of whoop ass on Iowa State. Now, I'm not saying Louisiana's going to open a can of whoop ass on Texas, but that being said, even though they don't know what to expect, I think Billy Napier knows enough about Sarkisian, enough about Alabama, where he's going to have a really good idea of what plan A is going to be, and then realistically what plan B is going to be. And he also knows, like, hey, they know that Bijan Robinson is going to get the ball a ton of times. Like, that's not going to be anything that throws them off. And I think that at the end of the day, they're probably focusing on, hey, stop Bijan, don't let him run loose, and see if these quarterbacks can beat us.
Fair enough.
All right, I've got a buy or sell for you. I think this is a good one. Challenge me. Buy or sell, Catch. Texas will start the season 3-0.
Ooh. Buy. It's a soft buy. It's not a rock certain. Take it to the look. Someone asked me what I thought this team would do record-wise a couple days ago. Yeah, yesterday. And I said 9-3. And they said, who do you think the losses are to? And I said, Oklahoma, Iowa State, TCU. And that just blurted out of my mouth. I've been telling you all summer that the Arkansas game is going to be tricky. I don't know I'm not suggesting that this team is really much better than what its current ranking is. It's in the right ballpark. But I'm picking them to go 9-3, I think. And to get to 9-3, they have to start 3-0. If they don't start 3-0, which I know is for people that don't know that might be watching the channel for one of the first times, Anwar, was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year where you did the 3-0. It might have been last year with Herman. I can't remember, but it outlined how tricky of a start Texas has had basically since you've been here, but really going back to the 2009. Yeah. What was the stat?
I gotta look it up, but
Texas team's gone 3-0 since 2009 or something like that.
It was something crazy like that. Like they've because you've had the BYU out of conference losses, the Notre Dame, the USC, Maryland happened twice. So Texas starting 3-0, just 3-0 has been a challenge for this program.
And as someone, go ahead.
Cal, another program. I don't know if you said that. Another out of conference.
Dude, you keep bringing that game up, and you're gonna cause someone to break a hole in their wall. Mention that extra point one more time in any of the columns or these shows. Texas fans have tried to block that thing out, man.
That's why I hate kickers.
That's like whenever someone would talk about Tony Romo's career and they'd bring up that fumbled hold in the Seattle playoff game. And you just, as a Cowboys fan, it's just I've been training myself to forgive Romo for that and stop bringing it up. I get it. Or the catch. It's just some things you just don't say. Buy or sell. Texas beats Louisiana.
Sell. I'm not going. I already know in week 1 I'm going to predict the Louisiana win. So
wow.
Yeah, I won't waver on that one. I don't. And it's not to say, look, for us from a business perspective, covering this team, Texas being successful, that's great for us. Everyone's in a happy mood. Everyone feels great. Everyone wants to read the coverage. So for us, we're not cheerleaders by any stretch of the imagination, but we understand our life is so much easier. It's just really hard for me, Catch. It is hard for me to just say, okay, new offense, new defense, an offensive line that we've heard was very shaky throughout the preseason and of course, at least the first scrimmage. Receivers, who are going to have to get adjusted on the fly. Defensive players some of these people are new. There's a lot of moving parts here for me, Catch. There's a lot of moving parts. And then it's about what happens when the bullets start flying. And we heard in the first scrimmage, Catch, when the bullets kind of started flying just on a mediocre level, that some guys weren't able to handle it. So Louisiana's going to come in. They're a team that is returning everybody, Catch. They just are. They're returning everyone on offense. They're returning everyone on defense. They've got a coach that this is his Super Bowl. Billy Napier, coach, Catch, if he wins this game, he's the guy that we're talking about all year long by taking the next big Power 5 gig. Like he's the guy, he becomes the guy that everyone is focused on because now he's had 2 10-win seasons. So for me, look, even Sarkisian, so 2 things I'll say and I'll shut up. Sarkisian already has outlined and he has said, hey, this is not the other team in Louisiana. Like he's said that in a press conference. Like, I got to make sure my guys understand this is not the other team in Louisiana. And he's already hinted and alluded, and Catch, you pointed this out. If the team plays like they did in the scrimmage, they probably lose against this Louisiana team. They're a good team. So for me, I'm probably going to sell on that. I think Louisiana wins the opener.
Here's my concern about Louisiana. As someone, I'm pretty sure I'm picking Texas to beat Louisiana in the opener. But the thing that makes me nervous about Louisiana as an opponent that I don't think Texas fans have a strong enough grasp of, at least of what they're dealing with. When you look at Levi Lewis, the Louisiana quarterback, he's doing his senior year all over again. And when you look at his numbers from a year ago, you think to yourself, well, that's not that. Now, forget about the fact that they were a really, really good team. But his passer rating is at 140. That's really not that good. 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he just didn't have a great senior season. But the year before that, he threw 26 touchdowns and 4 picks. And the year before that, he played 14 games and had a 178 quarterback rating. So this is a 5th-year senior coming back because his team's loaded, because he wants to kind of get a redo on what was for him. While the team was great, he was just kind of okay. And it's a real juxtaposition to what Texas has at quarterback, a guy making his first start and, first home game as a starter, first game as a starter against a ranked team. Levi Lewis may not be the best quarterback that Texas faces all year. Hell, he may not be in the top 3, but he's played in an opener before on the road against a ranked team. He's done that. He's started. This will be like his 40th start, not his first start. And I am a big believer that's why I thought Texas ultimately was going to beat Oklahoma last year. It doesn't work this way every time, but on paper, if your guy's supremely experienced and the other guy has almost none at the quarterback position, that always feels like something that matters. Last year probably showed at times that it didn't, but as a general theme of football, that is something that it's a cliche that I buy into. And there's no question that Texas goes into this game against Louisiana with a disadvantage at quarterback. They won't be the team on the field with the best quarterback, and it will be up to the Texas defense to make that margin not matter. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it's hard to do in your first game. You know what I'm saying? It's a difficult thing to do. And again, Catch, and it's as talented as Spencer Rattler was, right? He's going to be a guy that we look at and say, hey, that's the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft, and if not top 10. He struggled just out the gate. He did. And so it's hard for me just to ignore all the facts. Now, look, if I'm wrong, hell yeah, I'd go tweet at me, which I know you do anyway. Tweet at me. You've got the video evidence now. You can tweet the videos out. put this in the locker room before the games, but you can't say that there's not at least some merit for concern. Like, you can't say that Maryland didn't happen twice. You can't say that this is not a really good team that's ranked only 2 notches below Texas. So this is not Rice. That's the only thing. All right. So, all right, buy or sell, Catch. Okay.
I'm sorry. It feels like such a bombshell. It's going to be hard to recover. Like, take me someplace because you telling me on a Friday show that 2 weeks in advance you're predicting it. I guess I just haven't let it completely. It hasn't sunk in yet. What the hell that would mean on Orange Bloods? Like, people are kind of like, they beat up Sam Spiegelman yesterday from Rivals because he came over and said that they were in the mix for a guy that Texas is in the mix for. Like, they got mad at him. Like, don't be bringing that BS around here. We don't have a chance at that guy. And like, whoa. I mean, he says he's going to visit. I thought you guys would want to know. Texas fans will not be able to deal with an 0-1 start. It will be way worse than Herman and losing to Maryland. It just will be. So please ask me a buy or sell question. It takes my mind off.
Oh, I mean, look. Again, context matters, right? And I'm hoping everyone takes it and says, all right, I hear the facts of what he's saying. I disagree, but I hear the facts of what he was saying. New offense, new defense, new quarterback, offensive line that's been shaky. There hasn't been a receiver who has over 500 yards of receptions from 500 yards receiving yards from last season. The defense finished 7th last year, and you're opening up against a tough opponent. If Louisiana was 3rd and Rice was 1st, and you had a tune-up game, okay. But this is a hard game, man. And what Texas fans would be asking me to do, Catch, is what we've done, and you and I played this game a lot over the years, is ignore facts and give everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? We did that for the last several years, and we've just, okay, factually, but theoretically, hypothetically, this can happen. And we've always, outside of maybe one season, Catch, which was the Sugar Bowl season, we've kind of been wrong.
And it's really hard to count that season because it wasn't a great season. We don't need to do a dissertation on the 2018 football season, but it very much reminded me of the year that, I guess, the 96 team where Texas wins the Big 12 and they beat Nebraska in the Big 12 championship, but they lost 5 games. And so, it feels a little empty when you do this one thing, but it's not supported with really strong play. Like, the thing about that season was you were going out on a limb at midseason to say, I'll be going back to Dallas. Remember, we all looked at you like,
book my room.
I mean, and it wasn't, we didn't make that face because the team was playing well at the time. Okay.
Yes.
Give me a buy or sell question.
I booked my room mid-season after maybe it was the Oklahoma State loss or something. I was like, I think that they'll be able to do it. All right. So let's do a couple of more before Ari yells at us for going too long.
Okay.
So, here's your setup. Earlier this week, Pete Kwiatkowski said their goal is going to be to hold opponents to 20 points or less. Buy or sell. Texas holds their opponents to 27.5 points or less this season.
Buy.
Okay.
Somewhere between those two things. Closer to 27.5 though than 20.
Yeah, I mean 20. I mean, just for reference, Catch, OU averaged 43 points a game last year, and Texas was at 42.7. So when you're talking 20, I mean, you're talking about no team in the Big 12 potentially, maybe outside of Kansas. I would have to look that.
No, I mean, if that's the goal, I love the goal, right? Because it establishes it's something they can write down and look at. It's tangible. It's almost physical, that when they go into a game and they don't do it, they know way in advance we didn't hit our goal. Now, it might be an unrealistic goal, but I'd rather you set completely high, unrealistic goals and fall. If you're going to fall short of aiming for the moon. Yeah. That's aiming for the moon. That's one of the best Texas defense probably I've seen in my lifetime.
Catch. Kansas averaged 15.8 points a game last year, and then Baylor was at 23.3.
But look at last year's who had the best scoring defense in the Big 12 last year?
That's the scoring defense?
Yeah, because that's what he's saying.
Let's see.
He wants to have 20 points makes you the best scoring defense in the Big 12.
West Virginia gave up 20.5.
Wow.
Iowa State was at 21.4. Oklahoma was at 21.7. Oklahoma State, 23.5. Texas last year, Catch, was at 28.5.
You and I have seen so much bad defense in the last decade that 20 points sounds like going to the moon.
It really did. It did. Like I didn't until you had me look it up. I was like, what is this? The Bears defense?
Exactly.
What is this? Fridge Perry's out there? Like who's playing on this defense?
Basically, he's telling us that the 85 Bears and the 86 Giants had a super baby, and that's what Texas is going to be. That really puts into perspective. There were a handful of teams that almost did it last year in the Big 12 of all places. Texas has been so far away from that. Most of the stories that you've written in your 8 years of being here have centered around how every year the defense sets new terrible records.
Yes.
So many of them.
There have been a lot.
I mean, when Vance was here, some of those numbers.
Those are bad years.
But then the problem is, like, you bring in new people and then they break the records that had just been set. And you're like, man, the people that set those records got fired. So not a good idea to be breaking those people's. It was just, it is. I guess. It's not like I'm going to look this up later. I'll do it right now because I'm curious, and I'll try not to make it look like I'm just surfing the internet in the middle of this. Matter of fact, okay. I'll ask you a buy or sell. I want to look up what Charlie's scoring defense was in his first year because that was a good defense.
I've got it right on my phone right here. 2014.
Yeah.
Hold on. Put on my
now it looks like you're looking it up, and I was going to try to make it look like I wasn't.
It's actually 23.8.
See, like that's not really. That was a good defense
third, too. And that was third in the Big 12.
And I think of that as Texas just hasn't seen a really good defense probably since Will Muschamp was a defensive coordinator back in 2010. I mean, I guess Manny Diaz had a good defense in 2011, and then the wheels came off the following year. Yeah, I mean, it's been so long that goal. When I heard him say that goal, it just was like, all right.
So check this out, Ketchum. Just so you know, 2015, Texas, the following year, it rose to 30.3.
Yeah.
2016, it was at 31.5.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to see what Tom Herman's first year was. Then it went back down to 21.2.
Okay. Wow. I don't remember Orlando's first defense being quite that good.
Yeah, I bet you he does.
I bet he does too. I bet Herman remembers it too. Like, hey.
I bet you he does. I bet you he's like, that's what I got fired for, bitches. Like, I'm sure.
Well, Orlando's issue wasn't year one, because even after year one, everybody was like, oh, we want to keep him around forever. And then it went downhill from there. All right, buy or sell. Last buy or sell for me, because we don't want to get yelled out by Ari. Buy or sell. COVID cancels a UT football game this year.
Sell.
Cool.
I'm gonna sell on that one. Hopefully that redeems me. I'll sell on that one. I would have said
Texas fans are going to come out of this wanting it to cancel the opener when they listen to this.
I don't know if we're going to really shut it down again. Maybe there's a potential for something being postponed, but there's a lot of Del Conte put something out. Didn't he put something out recently, Ketch, on what the vaccination rate was among student athletes?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good number. And I think with the vaccine that's out there, and the majority of people understanding why they should have it and the importance of it. And please don't take this off the rails. I mean, I'm relating this to sports, guys. I definitely can see that. I don't see it becoming a huge deal. People are still wearing their masks if they want to. So no, I think we'll have things as operational. Now I don't know what's going to happen to all the fans who are 100,000 people. They're probably going to have some people that potentially get sick after some games, but I don't think we have the interruptions like we had last year.
I asked because the Big 12 announced this week that games won't be remade, and that teams that have to cancel games because of COVID issues will just take an L. And that's a different approach than we would have seen a year ago when it was like, hey, let's leave a buffer week and let's leave space in games so that they can be rescheduled. And in the end, Texas loses the Kansas game. But I was just curious. All right, what you got?
Here's my last one for you. Here's my last one for you. Buy or sell. If Casey Thompson does win the starting job, he starts in all 12 games this season.
So, but the smart money might be on either of these guys not starting 12 games all season, which is one of the reasons why, you and I have been talking this week in the various shows about, are we sure that Casey will leave? Is it really I know what has been established going into this camp, but it feels like both guys are going to be called on, or I guess needed. Whether or not both are there remains to be seen, but I feel like both will be needed. And there's a world out there where Texas starts slow against Louisiana. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. And the backup gets a quick call, right? I mean, if it's 14-7 in the second quarter and Louisiana's up by a touchdown, but the offense just is going 3 and out, it's just not happening. I mean, Sark is going to want to win. So the question, I think, becomes what happens in a world where the backup comes in and, let's say, saves the day. That's what this program's not really prepared for. The last time I think really, I can remember back when Chance Mock lost his job and Vince took over. And then a couple of games into the Vince Young starting period, they played Texas Tech in Austin. And they had to bench Vince. Texas was down by a couple of scores. Chance Mock comes in, leads Texas back from behind. They win the game. It's the highlight moment of Chance Mock's career. And when it was over with, there was just no doubt about it. Vince Young's still the starting quarterback moving forward. I don't know that either one of these two dudes has that kind of juice. You know what I mean? Where guy comes in, Casey Thompson comes in, throws 5 touchdowns, and then what Sark says, no, it's still Hudson Card's job. That would be, I think, a tough sell. Back then, it was like, oh, yeah, it's Vince Young's job. We got a great backup. We got the best number 6, the best 6 man in all of college football. Doesn't feel like that's something anybody wants to touch in 2021. Best backup quarterback in the Big 12 is not a title anyone finds sexy.
The only reason I think the starters, if Casey gets it, would play the whole year long would be, one, Sarkisian would have to admit that he made a mistake. And I don't know if he would want to have to admit that 1 game in, 2 games in, I already made a mistake, guys. I don't know you want to do that in year 1 on the job. I also don't know if a former quarterback, I've kind of looked it up, doesn't really have a long history of benching guys, even if they struggled. If he's going to be that person that says, this is my guy, My quarterback has to work his way through it, work his way out of it. I've got to let him build some confidence. I was a former quarterback. I understand the position a little bit, so one, would he want to admit a mistake so soon? And then two, does he just give that guy a chance to work out all the kinks? So that's where I'm like, I think he would probably just let whoever he goes just ride with them, as long as possible.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking of the worst case scenario. Like the absolute worst case scenario is your quarterback looks like Apollo Creed right before he dies in Rocky IV, right? Because you're at that, you got the towel in your hand, and Sarkisian's instincts is to let his quarterback go through it. Like we're not going to make a sudden and drastic move. So you're sitting there and you're holding that towel. And then next thing you know, like the starting quarterback's just like diving forward. Dies in a ring. It's not good. Spoiler alert, Rocky IV has a slightly sad part in the middle of it.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Rocky V was horrible.
I don't know what you're talking about. There is no such thing as Rocky V. That movie was never made. All right, look, for myself and Anwar Richardson, I'm still, again, Anwar rocked my world today. I can only imagine what the comment section is going to look like. And, oh, by the way, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And, yes, take any of those buy or sell questions that we went back and forth on and give us your answers. Let us know which of those questions stood out the most to you and why you either agree or disagree with whatever answer was given. And Anwar and I will do our best. We'll jump in the comments. You guys can yell at me because I did something wrong. Until Monday, when it's Overreaction Monday, and we do all kinds of crazy things that, no, we really don't. But we'll have some overreactions. For Anwar and myself, you guys be good to each other. Later.